Thanks for joining me. So in today's video we're going to be tying an Irish shrimp pattern called the Glenwherry Red. Now the hook I have in the vise is a Partridge Patriot size 10 in black nickel, and I'm going to be using Simperfly Classic Wax thread 80 in red. So I'm just going to catch on around the centre of the shank, roughly where I want my metal hackle to be, trim off the excess and continue to lay a base of thread down towards where the brazing stops and the hooks start to splay. At this point I'm going to come in and catch in some gold oval and small. I'll be using this for my tag. So a few turns of thread just to bind that down, and then tight touching turns working towards the bend of the hook. 4 or 5, just whatever you prefer yourself, down in between the two hooks, over the top, and then come in with my thread to fasten down. Trim off my excess, and now I'm going to be adding a few strands of flash here, so I'll be using my good old favourite pearl crystal flash in the micro. Just come in, hold it down over the top of the shank, a few turns of thread to hold in place, trim off our excess, just take the thread further on down. There we go. Now for my tail, I'm going to be using a golden pheasant red breast feather. So just separate the tip, stroke the fibres back slightly, trim off any excess in the tip and catch down with a few turns of thread. Now it's quite a big feather, so I don't really need to come in with my hackle pliers to hold it. So in one hand I'll grab the stalk, and in the other I'll just tease the fibres back, just stroking them back with every turn, touching turns of hackle, just moving forward every time, trying to make sure none of the fibres are being trapped down, and then come in with my thread and bind down my stalk. Just going to take my double needle here and just any of the fibres that are trapped down, just tease them out through, just to make sure I'm happy with the tail. That's quite good there. There's one fibre. I'll just trim that out of the way. Maybe that one too. Right, so my hackle stalk, I'm going to bind that down up to the point where I want my centre hackle to be. And then again I'm going to come in with my gold oval for my rib and catch it in where I want my centre hackle and bring it back down with me. So for the body I'm going to be using some gold and silver mylar, size 12. I have a length here already cut, which I'm just going to cut a bevel in. So I want the silver side pointing towards me, and I'm going to tie it in silver side up on the top of the shank, and then just winding up the opposite direction to wind my thread, so counterwind, just a few turns, not too far up the shank. This is why you need a smooth, even body, just so it doesn't slip, jump up and down over any bumps. So we'll trim that off, and then with a rib, bring a rib up, open turns, just slipping a little bit there, making sure we don't catch down any of our tail fibres. That's it. Plenty of pressure on the rib to tighten everything down, and a few turns of thread. Now for the centre hackle, I'm going to be using a red cock cape. So I'll just pull off any of the fibres. The longer fibres I don't want. I'm going to try and take it all the way back to only leave the feathers on it, or the fibres on it that I need. Come in now, double it over with my finger and thumb. Just trim off the tip there and bind it down. Plenty of turns of thread. And now we'll start and wind our hackle. Again, touch and turns, just trying to tease everything back, create a nice splay in the feathers. I prefer to use cock hackles in my Irish shrimps. I think the stiffer fibres can create a bit more buzz in the water. Most of my fishing's small streamy water, so I find it works possibly better for me. Maybe if you were fishing deeper slow glides or hand lining through pools, you maybe want to opt for a softer hen hackle that would pulse a bit more. So a few fibres sticking forward there, you can either trim them off or just tease them back and catch them down with a few more turns of thread. This is going in my box, so I'm happy enough just to pull them back. A few wraps of thread will hold them in place. So now just for a rib for our front body, again same as our tag, same as our rear body, our gold oval. And for our front body I'm going to be using a black seal's fur substitute. Just create a small dubbing noodle. It's going to be a very small front body anyway, so you're looking at probably a little more than an inch of a dubbing noodle. Again, just making sure there's no fibres sticking forward. You can use your first couple of turns to hold the fibres back if you don't think they're sweeping back enough. And then we'll bring a rib up. It's a small body, so you're only looking at one and a half to 2 turns. Bring a rib up, trim off a few little bits of the dub body sticking forward there, so we'll just pull them back and bind them down. Now I'm going to add a couple of jungle cock eyes. So I have my cape here. Again, size and shape, it's all down to personal preference. I like to put relatively large ones in, so I'll pick 2 out there. They're a pretty close match. Again, strip off a lot of the fibres. Stuff that you don't need, get it out of the way. That one just broke off there, so we'll go with that one first. Just come in with 3 or 4 turns. And again with our second one, I don't really bother doubling these over. They've got Plenty of turns of thread over them, they shouldn't really go anywhere. I can't say I've ever had too many slip out in my own flies. Anyway, just check the two of them are lined up for length and that you're happy with the way they're set in display. Another couple of turns and then trim off any waste. That's the hard bit there, the one that's broke off. Just getting that little piece. Just try and bend it back with my double needle and then come in with fine point scissors. Yep, got that. Now our final haggle, I'm going to be using a black cape. It's quite soft, very webby, probably more of a hennycock. So just same as before, trim the excess away at the tip, tie it in, plenty of turns, and then I'll maybe just grab this with my hackle pliers, doubling it over with your finger and thumb, and then just depending on how dense you want it haggled. Again, like I say, this is more of a hennycock, so 2 turns would probably do it. Could possibly be a small Indian cape. Trim off her stock. Just take a quick look to make sure there's no fibres sticking forward. Bind it down, just form a bit of a head, and then I'm going to come in with my whip finish. 6 turns for my whip finish. Just pull down, trim that off, and now we're ready for a couple of coats of varnish. Not too much varnish, you want to just get the head, you don't want to touch the fibres and have it bleed right up in. Usually give my flies, salmon flies anyway, 3 coats. There we go. There's the first one anyway. If that had another 2, it's ready for my box. Well, hope you enjoyed the video. That's the Glenwherry Red. Thanks for watching. See you again.